Hello YouTube. This video is about the beginner's guide when you're starting punishing grave ramen for the first time, and I would like to share some of the information I know, some of the information I gathered, and etc. Basically this video will be all about the beginner's choice, what kind of choices you can make. As you know, you're given an S rank selection card and you basically can select a character from it, and most people recommend to pick Kamoi. I don't know why, but they're just judging that if he looks badass and cool, that this character is actually good and etc. I'm not saying that any character is bad or good. Every single character has its role, every single character has its pluses and minuses, so we'll be discussing all of this in this video. So imagine, what do you want to do? First of all, you want to get a lot of constructs, you want to complete a lot of different content. Well, our main goal is basically to complete everything in this game, every single content we have. There is a war zone, there is a phantom phage cage, there is the strongholds, there will be a lot more incoming, there will be also a lot of events and etc. So first of all, keep in mind, every single construct matters because they have different elements, they have different roles. First of all, we need to know the understanding of these roles. Well, basically the tank's role is to break the shield as fast as possible. The DPS's build, or as it's called, attacker's role, is to do a lot of damage. And there is support. Mainly those supports are all leaves, but there will be different supports coming in the game. And their role is to heal and have a lot of buffs and etc. There's a lot of content here, and one of them is, for example, Golden Vortex, and this specifically requires to have several constructs, several characters. That's why I said that it's important to have a lot of constructs, and every single construct matters, because as you can see, there are specific requirements for specific content. Also, in some cases there are like content like the Warzone where the light damage is increased or the dark damage is increased and etc. So let's make our choice now. And which one should we pick? Okay, as we said, most people choose Kamui. Well, Kamui has many roles, and seriously, he's not a tank. Yes, it's described as a tank, but he's the worst kind of shield breaker, as I have tested it. And also, his skills and everything he does is not a tank-like. So that's probably why people recommend to pick Kamui. He's mostly a half DPS, and we should call it like a tanky DPS. And why you should consider picking Kamoi or not to consider picking him? First of all, he's the only dark damager, and yeah, it's kind of good start if you have a single dark damager in the team. But what I recommend is, first of all, wait till you get a first S rank, then pick a second S rank from that card you're given for free. Why? Because, as I said, every single character has its role, and if you choose a character, you need to have all the roles for that character, and basically that's what builds the best out of team. And we'll be talking about that in a few minutes when we'll be talking about other characters as well. So Kamui is a dark tanky DPS, and for example, what you could do is skip all the banners. Even if you're given free tickets, skip all of that and just wait for something specific comes out. And you can actually pick Kamui in that case to have a 1S rank, which is a tanky DPS, and could probably carry all of your content until it gets extremely hard, because as I mentioned, there will be a lot of other content and it requires specific amount of constructs to have. So, Kamoi, should we pick it? If you're planning to skip everything and wait for specific characters, then yes, you could pick it. Otherwise, he's a kinda bad choice because you could have a better start if you get a first S rank character and it's actually a DPS or a healer. Well, I could say that Liv is one of the must to have characters in the game, but picking a healer as your first choice, well, you have to think about it. Probably you will be lacking more of a DPS than a healer, but Liv is quite actually good, even for a DPS. Let's just say that she's half DPS and half healer. Basically, if time your specific time is required to complete a specific content, then Liv is a bad choice. But if it's all about survival, then in that case Liv is quite good. But the problem is the both Warzone and the Phantom Cage gives you more points if you complete it as fast as possible. So using her as a main DPS is a bad choice. But she's quite good, and she's very good with mostly every single character in this game. Well, she's a universal support. So picking her is actually not a bad choice. As for the build, you can build her as a physical support or an elemental support. Both work great. Lee. Let's talk about Lee. Lee is actually quite good character and has quite a lot of damage. And he's the one of the best physical DPSs for now at least, but as we know, Alpha was released recently. It's a pity that I started recording this video quite late because I would have recommended to skip Lee, but now your option is to spend as much as possible on the Alpha banner, but otherwise Lee is kinda good, but there will be better Lees in the future, and for now, if you like his style, he's a good choice because he does quite a lot of damage, and he's a single target and an AoE DPS, and he does quite an amount of damage. My personal favorite is Karenina. She's one of the top DPSs at the early stage. Of course, there will be a lot more better DPSs in the future, but for now, Karenina S rank, Karenina Amber, is one of the best fire DPS in the game, and she does quite a lot of damage, even for a single target, even for AoE damage, she kicks quite a lot. And the damage quite exceeds the expectations because she basically helps you to complete every single content. Would it be the Warzone or would it be the Phantom Cage? But mostly for Warzone she's at her best, but she's not bad in the Phantom Cage as well. Moving to Nanami, she's a quite good choice as well, but not as a first pick. Well, she's a tank, but the idea is that she's a fire support than a tank. Well, she's obviously tanky because her role is a tank, but the problem with this Nanami is that she's not as quite as a good shield breaker as other characters, and mostly she's a DPSive type of support for fire DPSs. Hopefully this was not too complicated. Her main role is to support fire DPSs like Karenina. So basically when you have Karenina, having this Nanami, the S rank, is quite good. And she could be built DPS, but my recommendation is she's more of a support for fire DPSs than an actual DPS, while for example Kamui is more like a DPS rather than a tank. Nanami, the B rank, is kinda better shield breaker than the A rank, so that's why people mostly don't pick her, because unless they're building specifically a fire team. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's make a sum up. Which one should we pick? So let's consider the roles once again and sum everything up, and sorry about the noise outside. So first of all, Liv, the one of the best healers. Actually all the Livs are the healers, but this Liv has the damage reduction buff and helps the team every possible way, and she's also DPSive, so she could play a role of a half DPS as well, or should we call it off DPS. So she's one of the good choices. Karenina is one of the best fire damage dealers in the game at the early stage, probably in the late stage as well, depends how you build her and etc. The next one is Kamoi. Kamoi is a selfish tanky DPS. The actual role is a tank, but I prefer to play it as a DPS rather than a tank, because he's quite weak while breaking the shields, and there will be a lot better tanks and DPSs, the dark damage dealers and etc. So no. And we have now the Lee Entropy. The Lee Entropy, well, I could say that he's one of the best physical damage dealers, but like I said, one of the best. The actually best is Alpha, or should we call her Lucia. The character variation is actually Lucia, but everyone calls her Alpha. The full name, as you can see here, is the Lucia Crimson Abyss, but most people call it Alpha. They're one of the best physical damage dealers. So basically, when picking the S rank character, we don't have Alpha there, that's why people consider picking Lee, but it's up to you, because there will be a lot better characters in the future, so Lee is not a good choice. Nanami. Nanami. How do I actually pronounce that? So Nanami is actually quite good, but as I said earlier, she's half damage dealer, half tanky, and she's not a great shield breaker, but when you're having the main DPS as a fire damage dealer, she's one of the best choices actually. So as for the sum up, I would choose either Nanami if I could get Karenina, but as a first pick, Nanami isn't a good choice. So as the first pick, Karenina or Liv Luminance is one of the best choices you could pick. Don't go for Kamoi, because it's a selfish DPS, tanky DPS, a tank. Probably it's all the same for Kamoi, because he's not that good, he's just badass character and etc. But if you're planning on like saving all the play cards, the free summons the game actually gives us, then probably Kamui would be the best choice, but only in that case. What I mean is that in the R&D we have like several choices, and we are giving a lot of free R&D tickets, and basically that will be enough for like, I don't know, 20 summons or 30 summons, and the first guaranteed summon is on 40 attempts. After that it's 60 attempts, so carefully consider what you're picking first. But my personal opinion is that Karenina or the Liv Luminance are one of the best choices. So thank you all for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed this video. Not only enjoyed it, and it was informative and helped you a lot in your choice, and hopefully you could build very best teams, and I wish you luck for that. Good luck. Goodbye.